We learned in the Shared Features series that we can password protect a document, and there are other ways to protect the document as well. But specifically in Word, we may or may not want to lock the entire document completely, but instead try to simply limit what people can do, especially as far as formatting. I know people don't always have bad intentions, but when we turn them loose with documents, they kind of tend to mess things up, meaning that they hard format things or they don't use the styles that we've taken so much time to create. We know that styles are the key, but not everyone does. And when they try to manually format it or otherwise make the formatting inconsistent, it really can wreak havoc with our hard work. We can accomplish this fairly simply by simply going to the Review tab. We talked about the spelling and grammar on the left. Now we need to head almost all the way over to the right, where we have the Restrict Editing option under the Protect group. By clicking on this, it displays the Restrict Formatting task pane on the right-hand side of the screen. And actually, the ability to limit what people can do as far as formatting is as simple as really a checkbox and a couple of clicks. The very first option is to limit formatting to a selection of styles. Then, of course, we need to click on the Settings link in order to designate which styles those are. By default, everything's selected, so I would recommend that you click None first, then selectively go through your list. Of course, there are a lot of styles that could be associated with the document, so going through the list may take a little bit of work. But in our case, we know that everything that we used should be probably near the bottom of the list because we called them our company name, which is the You Got It styles. We have the You Got It heading and the You Got It subheading, and we also created a table style, so You Got It table. What's important to remember is that you may not have actually created a body text style. Normally, that is called normal. So we're going to go ahead and just drag the box up a little bit, see if we can get to the ends, and we're going to go ahead and choose to allow the normal style. Again, if you're not real clear on what styles have been used in your document, then you might go ahead and take a little bit of time to review them very carefully. Otherwise, you might get people that are a little bit annoyed with what you've done. But I think you get the idea. Don't forget that down below, we have some formatting checkboxes as well. In other words, remember our auto format that automatically changes stuff for us? Do we want to allow auto format to override those formatting restrictions? Similarly, do we want to block the ability to change the theme? Because remember, the theme has to do with the font, and if they've done fonts and styles correctly, all of those should be based off of the theme. So what is currently Calibri in your theme could all of a sudden be Times New Roman if somebody is allowed to change the theme. That's not even mentioning the colors. So this is probably a good idea as well, because people will find a way if you leave it open. Let's go ahead and say OK. And what you will see is that if you've designated something that is not appropriate, it's going to call you on it. It's going to say that the document may contain, now by the way, that doesn't actually say that it does, may contain formatting or styles that aren't allowed. Do you want to remove them? You should be careful here, and if you're not absolutely certain, you should probably say no. But if you are certain, then you can say yes. If I can offer a little hint, what I'll tell you is that if your screen jumps like ours just did, we can see that somehow there's a dramatic difference in the pagination of our document. That should be a big red flag for you that whatever you just selected is not appropriate, and you need to be careful. We're going to go ahead and see if we can use Undo. Moving up to the Undo on the upper left hand, we can choose Undo Style Visibility, and that of course brings, among other things, our picture back. Once again, just because we don't have a lot of time, here's my recommendation. If you go back to your Styles panel that we can display on the right-hand side of the screen, and we click on Options, we can say only show us the styles used in this document. And you might just write those down. That way you can go through and actually find what styles you are using, and either replace them if they're not appropriate, or be sure to include them if you try to do this kind of restriction. Just so you know, there are actually 17 other styles besides the 3 that we selected that are in this document. They include stuff that we don't think about, like the captions under our tables. We have several different styles in our tables of contents, in our index, our headers, our footers, and more. So really, styles are pervasive, and until you're sure that you're working with them correctly, you don't want to go through and lock things down too much, or in this case, you might have really messed up all the hard work that you put into your document originally. If you do want to use this feature, though, you're welcome to. And a lot of times what I do with contractors is I simply lock it down and say they can't use anything except normal because they're not supposed to format stuff. I'm usually going to take the text, put it into another document, and then format it myself. So that prevents any of that type of thing from happening. Don't forget, in this panel though, you can also choose to restrict other types of editing. You can make it read-only, you can force track changes to be turned on, you can only allow comments to be made, or if you're creating forms, you can allow that to be done as well. You have to pick one, you can't do multiples. But when any one of these is set, you then have the option to go ahead and say who should be able to do that. And then you also can come down and say start enforcing protection, at which point we'll need to put in the password twice, just to make sure that we have it right. At that point, the document will be locked. If you want to work with it, you will need to click the button over here that allows you to stop enforcing protection, and you'll need to know the password. But this is really the way that we can get a lot of control over what happens in our document, beyond just can they open it, and beyond just can they edit it or not. Using these features allows us to more tightly control what type of edit